Welcome. How's everybody doing? This is our Sunday night live stream. It hasn't had one in a while. We haven't had a topic in a while either. I thought, I really did believe I was done with Attack on Titan. And then I found out there's another volume, well, another omnibus. So uh, I won't be actually done with the series until next weekend because I have to wait for the final volume to come in. It won't be in until Thursday. But that volume will have the last 8 chapters, if I remember correctly. And I'm seeing the story as pretty much as unsalvageable at this point. I'm looking at the story and it's pretty much unsalvageable at this point. So we're going to talk about Attack on Titan, even though I don't have the ending. We're going to talk about that. We also want to talk about Alan Moore's Promethea. I thought I had the end of that too, and I turned out I don't. I bought 3 of the 4 volumes in paperback form. I could only get the fourth one in hardcover. I read the first 3 without realizing there was a fourth and a fifth, and then I got the fourth one, and now I can't find the fifth one anywhere on planet Earth for a decent time or for a decent price. So, uh, we're stuck here into with this situation. But I don't need to finish Promethea or Attack on Titan to talk about them. I can't talk about the finish of the stories, of course, but I can talk about the themes, the ideas, um, and where the stories look to be going. Of course, I cannot fully judge a story until you get the ending, because the ending might fix some of the problems. But like I said, when it comes to Attack on Titan, I don't see the finish actually fixing any of the problems. Um, I honestly don't see it turning itself around anytime soon. Now, we are starting a little bit early today because I would like to do this in a short amount of time. So, here's my issue with Attack on Titan. I love the series, especially in the beginning. I remember the first time I saw it on Adult Swim. It is a tremendous series. I think one of the problems with Attack on Titan is it suffers from one of the big things that seems to happen in manga and anime is that it starts off extremely strong, but then as the story goes along, it starts to become more about side characters, and then it becomes more about it takes a sharp turn. You know, sometimes these stories go so long that the story has overstayed its welcome, and I won't say Attack on Titan did that, but sometimes they go so long that they change, particularly the protagonist, to the point where the audience is like, I don't know if I still like this character, or they add something to the character that you're like, okay, that's completely unnecessary. And I think Attack on Titan did some of all of the above. For me, the big problem with Attack on Titan began with the Marley arc. The moment it started, we started having problems because I'm not gonna spoil it, because clearly I can't tell you what the ending of the thing is because I don't know it, and I didn't watch the anime ending either, so I'm still reading the manga. But having read up to the last 8 chapters, I'm looking at it and I said the Marley arc created an entire just it expanded the world in the way that the seeds were planted in the early part of the story that there is a world outside the walls. There are people, there are things outside of the walls. Okay, good. I'm glad that there's people and things outside of the walls. But do I care about all of the things that happen outside of the walls? No. To me, that is a goal for the characters. Um, one of one of my favorite scenes is right before the Marley arc starts, and that is when Armin gets to see the ocean. It's Armin, it's Mikasa, it's Eren. They're playing around in the water, the salt water. They've heard all about it. They've never seen it, never experienced it. and they finally get to see the ocean. What an earned moment in that story. To me, I was like, okay, you can end the shit right here. We know that there's people on the other side of the ocean. Gotta gotta be people on the other side of the ocean. I didn't know it was going to turn into what it turned into. Okay, so they start once we started trying to explain the Titans. I was like, okay, this is one of the cruxes of the story because when you see this thing from the initially, you're like, what the hell are those things? They're scary as hell. They're vicious. They're violent. You're like, oh my god, where did they come from? And so they give you one of the original stories of where the Titans had come from, and where the Titans had come from the initial part of the story is that it was a young woman by the name of Emir who made a deal with an earth devil or an earth demon or earth god of some kind. And in exchange for this, I don't know what she supposedly gave this person. It looked like an apple that was drawn or whatever. She made a contract with this earth demon and it made her a giant. It gave her the ability to turn into a giant. And through this ability, she went on to conquer the world. And she is the mother of the Titans. She's the creator of the Titans. And I saw that and I said, okay, there's a little bit of Norse mythology there. Um, it's kind of a Jotun thing. They call Jotuns the giants in Norse mythology. Like, okay, kind of. All right. We had a scientific explanation for the Titans in the early part in the series where there's some kind of fluid that comes from the Titans that changes you into a Titan. Okay. So from there, we lose ourselves in Marley, which is a society that is very much full of people who hate themselves. And people, and that's where the Eldia and the Marley thing comes in, because these people hate themselves, and self-hatred becomes such a important part of the series at this point that you can't help but think that Asayama is looking at it from the perspective of people who feel guilty and have this collective guilt from things that happened in the past. And so, like, as soon as I started seeing, I was like, oh, they got white liberals in here, you know, white liberals who always feel like they have to atone for racism or slavery or whatever. And there are some Japanese who feel like they deserved the atomic bomb because of what they did to China, or like Germans who feel like the rest of the world controlling their military, or some of the speech laws they have are an atonement for Nazis, and this kind of stuff. It's collective guilt. Um, and the Eldians are kind of like Jews. They're marked. They're they're forced to wear armbands. They're forced into ghettos. They're still somehow members of the society in so much as they can join the military. They're usually put on the front line and killed. But they have an idea of there's a larger society, and then there are the ghettoized Eldians. And I wondered where we were going with this. Okay, I'm like, okay, where are we going with this? Because I'm getting a lot of self-hatred out of these Eldian characters, and I don't necessarily like it, and I don't necessarily see the point of it, but I'm willing to ride with you on it because I don't know where you're going. As the story progressed, we see that the Eldians, they are essentially slaves to the Marleys. They are forced to eat each other, use their Titan powers to benefit the Marleyan military and the Marleyan society. And okay, if you have the power of the Titans, why would you be a slave? I mean, that doesn't make sense. Like, But then you realize that the years upon years upon years of brainwashing and forced self-hatred created that sort of dissonance that uh, all of the punishment that we get, we deserve. All of the mistreatment that we get, we deserve. And that made me very uncomfortable because I was like, well, I think about it. I think about this a lot. Uh, it's called the Magic Negro, right? So what we have, I don't know if you guys ever heard of this comic book, but it was made by, I forget who the guy made it, but it was called Black. And in that comic book, only black people could have superpowers. And despite that, only black people could have superpowers, slavery still occurred, and almost every form of racism that ever existed still managed to happen, despite the fact that black people have superpowers and only they have superpowers. And you have to ask the question, how are you subjugated if you have superpowers? Like that doesn't, you have to craft. Now, as a storyteller, you have to craft some way in which that would make sense. So you say, well, okay, well, I guess in that story, they didn't know that they had superpowers. It was being kept from them, which is a typical black Afro nationalist conspiracy theory that black people invented all of these things. We went to all these different places. And it's all trick history, and all this stuff is hidden from you. You're not allowed to know that black people were in America first, that, we were the first pilgrims, we were the Indians, we were the first Irish, we were the first Japanese, yada, yada. Then I'm hearing, I think I just read online somewhere that there was black people in the Egyptians in the Grand Canyon or some nonsense like that. Okay. And all of this is supposed to be a product of brainwashing. You're brainwashed into thinking that you've never done anything positive, that you've only been a slave, yada, yada, yada. So you look at it from the Eldian perspective. They live in an oppressive society where they're constantly berated for all of the horrible things their ancestors supposedly done. So when they're conscripted to join the Marleyan military, this is seen as a positive because it seemed as I want to be one of the good ones. And if I'm one of the good ones, then we can live a better life. And then you have all of these children and these soldiers or whatever, and their job is to prove that they're some of the good ones. Okay. I don't know why we needed this, but okay, yeah. So we found out that there's 9 very special titans that are different from the regular titans. The jaw titan, which can crush anything because it has incredibly hard claws and teeth. The attack titan, the founding titan, which is Ymir. The colossal titan. Then you have the cart titan, and then you have the armored titan, and then you have the, I know I'm missing some. Oh, Annie, the female titan, and then there's one more. The armor. Oh yeah, the Warhammer Titan. Okay, so you have all these special titans. They have on the Beast Titan. So they have all these special titans. They have these special abilities, and they're using them to fight wars. So then you realize that in the story we've been following so far, where we've seen the Colossal Titan, the Beast Titan, the Attack Titan, and the Cart Titan, we've seen all of them already. The only one we hadn't seen is the Warhammer Titan. We had never seen the Founding Titan. So you're familiar with them, and then you see the Jaw Titan, which actually you kind of saw a version of the Jaw Titan with a young woman named Ymir who existed behind the walls, who was Historia's friend. She surrendered herself when she went back. I don't know why she went back, and she got eaten by somebody, and that guy is now the Jaw Titan. Okay. So you see that these people are being used in the military, and the plan is for the Marleyan society, they're going to destroy the island that the main cast live on because they want to destroy all the Eldians because the Eldians can transform into Titans. So You have these self-hating Eldians who are now joining the Marleyan military to hope to prove that they're the good Eldians. And they're going to destroy all of the Titans that are on the island. All right. And this includes all of the people, even though they're not Titans on that island, because they all have the potential to become Titans. Okay. All right. Uh, it seems a bit much, but okay. So we go through all this story with all the Marleyans, and then we find that Aaron has been hiding upon in their society. Apparently, um, the original clique, they went across the ocean, though it's never explained how they crossed the ocean. I believe it was a boat of some kind. And they went across the ocean and they mixed into the Marleyan society. Now, this is what this featured another really good part of the story for me, because this is where we get the team, the crew, seeing things that they've never seen before. You know, so they're seeing like Sasha and Connie see a car, and they think Sasha thinks it's a horse, Connie thinks it's a cow, or it might have been the other way around. And they're saying hi to it. They're eating ice cream for the first time. Like, this would have been perfect for the end of the series, that they're rejoining the rest of the world. But this is just part of the series. So they go and they somehow get mixed into some kind of assembly where they're over here that the Marleyans are going to destroy them. If they're all the Eldians on the island are going to be destroyed. Okay. So from there, Aaron disappears. Everybody else goes back to the island, apparently. And that's just kind of where we leave it. So then we find out that, okay, Rainer and Berthold, the Armor Titan and the Colossal Titan, who are the villains in the original part, they're really guys who want to be good Eldians. They went over there to help catch the Founding Titan and return the Founding Titan to Marley. That was their mission. So now we get Rainer. He's older. He's back in the Marleyan society. He's part of that military. He's feeling all sorts of guilt because Berthold got eaten and Marco got eaten, and they actually fed Marco, and Annie got caught. And then we start to deconstruct Rainer. And then I started realizing, like, that became a theme throughout the series. They began to deconstruct all of the fucking characters. They deconstructed Rainer. Like, you think he's a tough guy, he's a badass, but no, really, he's kind of wimpy. He was never supposed to be the Armor Titan in the first place because he's a loser. Zeke, who we see as the Beast Titan, they start to deconstruct him later too, because he's scared of Levi. He's just another guy taking orders, and then of course they try to make him the big bad, but not really, and all this confusion. We'll get to the worst part of the shit later, okay? So they start to deconstruct all the characters that you thought were cool. Not all of them are cool. And this really got bad when they got to Mikasa. And I remember reading those pages, and I said, I do not like this series anymore. When Aaron attacked the Marleyan society and killed children, I said, I'm not sure I like this series anymore. Because who the fuck are the good guys and who are the bad guys? Now you can say, well, they were about to attack them. They declared war on them. The Eldians that live among the Marleyans we're declaring war on the island. Okay, we'll defend the island, right? Okay. But he turns the Marleyan society into a battleground, knowing that children were going to be killed and eaten and stomped and crushed and everything. And it was at that point that I was like, I'm not sure where this series is going. Like, he's a bad guy now. Like, he's not a good guy anymore. This sucks. And And I had nobody else to cheer for in the series. So now I'm sitting here reading page after page of I don't like anybody in this series anymore, you know, except maybe Levi, who is, still the same character. They didn't deconstruct him, at least not yet. Again, I haven't read the whole thing yet. But they didn't find some way to embarrass, humiliate Levi. But pretty much everybody else embarrassed, humiliated, deconstructed. And then the characters that I thought were kind of funny and cool, I was like, I'm not sure. So after Aaron just does what he does in Marley, he destroys everything. He actually eats the Warhammer Titan. They go back to where they came from, and and now things really start getting confusing because we found out that Aaron and Zeke are working together. Okay, they're working together because they're half brothers. Blah 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 blah. Why are they working together? What do they want? Which is always going to be a confusing element to me. When they got to what Zeke's plan was, I said, that's stupid. So the plan was Zeke was going to use Emir like a genie to turn all the Eldians sterile so they cannot reproduce. And therefore, there will be no Titans in 100 years. But it's a suicide thing where everybody's essentially going to just die out. This entire group of people are going to die out. That's dumb. That doesn't make sense, but he's the villain. So, okay, that's fine. He's the villain. That's fine. Aaron is going along with it. Hundreds of civilians are dying. Buildings are being destroyed. And something told me like he's going to turn on him at the end. And then, of course, he did. When they finally get to the part where they're going to finally work together, they finally met, they touched, or whatever they're supposed to be doing. They get to the other worlds and they meet Emir, and they're going to do all of this stuff. And then Aaron decides he's going to flip on Zeke. He's not going to euthanize all the Eldians. Instead, he's going to destroy the whole fucking world. And I was like, that's even worse. He's even worse than Zeke. What the fuck? What the fuck? Now, again, I read that and I was like, bro, what's the point of this? Like, really, like, when do we get back to Aaron was just a kid who wanted to kill all the Titans because they ate his parents and his family. And then he did that. But now we have to find something else. And he's slowly but surely turning into what he hated. And there's no good reason for it. So then I'm flummoxed at this point. And I'm very frustrated. Because I'm like, why the fuck are we sitting here doing this? Why are we going through this? Clearly somebody is going to have to kill this fucking guy, right? Like that's how the series has to go. He's got to die. So we're not. Got to back up a little bit. So we started learning about the different Titans have different abilities. Now, one of the things that we are told in the story is that when you eat somebody, or when you or when the special Titans, or the whatever Titans, when they pass from one to another, you get that person's memories. And that person's memories somehow start to change your behavior. So this is why Armin is going to visit Annie in the basement, because Bertolt was in love with Annie. Okay, that makes sense. When you start seeing that Aaron has these weird visions of, everything from his dad, because he inherited the attack Titan from his father, who also had eaten the founding Titan. So then they started saying, okay, maybe Aaron is being influenced by the founding Titan. That the memories of the founding Titan is turning Aaron into this thing. And then we get to Aaron and Zeke are meeting. And Zeke is thinking that Aaron is brainwashed by their dad. and he's gonna walk Eren through their dad's memories and teach him how he was brainwashed. And then we find out through this process that Eren's Titan has the ability to somehow influence the people who are currently the Attack Titan holder, but somehow it's influenced by the future. So then you start seeing that Eren made all of this stuff happen. This was all a part of his grand scheme. He influenced his dad to attack the Rice family and eat the founding Titan. And I'm like, how the fuck did that happen? How does that work? that doesn't sound like it makes sense. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. How could you have the memories of somebody who's not born yet? How could somebody who's not born yet influence your how? All right, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And then I said, okay, well, at this point in time, of course, Eren already has been born, but he doesn't have any power. How is he influencing his dad? Or is it just he's influencing the memories in order to affect Zeke somehow? And anyway, I wanted to throw all of that in the garbage. I don't feel like we needed to see any of that. I don't think any of that matters. Right? Like, clearly, we just setting up that Eren and Zeke they thought they were on the same side, or at least Zeke did, and then Eren heel turned on him too. And I'm just like, I don't get it. So then Eren has a cult within the Survey Corps calling themselves the Jaegerists, and they're going to help him take over the world and destroy everything. Why? Why? He has a doomsday cult within the island that's going to help him destroy everything. It literally doesn't make it. It really just blew my fucking mind, And then the worst part of all of this is when they finally get to meet Ymir. Okay, so they meet Ymir, and then they find out, I guess through her memories, that she wasn't some grand queen. She was just a slave girl. So she was just a slave who, fell into some kind of tree, was gifted with this ability to transform, and her master used her to conquer the world and then forced her to give birth to children. And then when she died, he forced the children to eat her. And that's how the Titan powers went from, her to her children. And then the children had children, of course, and then, throughout history. And I just like, why do we need to do that? It's I just say, like, I don't think we need all of this. I'm not sure all of this is making the story better. I'm thinking it's making the story worse. I'm thinking we're adding things that we don't really need. So I'm not going to go into it too much, because then we get a lot of the palace intrigue about who's on whose side, and the Marlins and the Eldians finally coming together because Eren is going to unleash 10 million colossal titans all over the world and stomp everybody to death. And at that point, I'm like, okay, look, just end this fucking thing, all right? So I thought the story was over. And I get to probably like the third or fourth last page. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this can't be over. So then when I went on Amazon and looked up, and there's an Omnibus 12, which I don't have. So I got to wait for that to come. But upon reading from Omnibus 1 through Omnibus 11, which encompasses over 130 chapters, I don't think you can save this story in the last 8. Okay, I'm pretty sure you can't save it. If you mind wipe everybody and they forget about it, you copped out. If you kill Eren, then you killed the protagonist of the series because you turned him heel. So who's going to do that? You know, it's just so much. It it's it makes it was. I didn't get it. Like it became so nihilistic. It became so dark that I really didn't care anymore. Like part of the reason why Attack on Titan was so good was that there was hope in the while everybody's being eaten by titans and nobody knows what the hell's going on. There was always somebody there that had hope or had enjoyment in little things. And enjoyment in those little things is what kept everybody going. For instance, Armin and his desire to see the ocean. That was hope. That meant that there was something out there beyond the devastation and the death that we are looking at now. Sasha and her love for food. Somebody who is deprived finally gets just a little something, some meat. Like there was a part where she kind of goes comatose over finally getting a piece of meat, and she's fighting everybody to keep this meat for herself. She was one of my favorite characters. I was not happy when they killed her off, but I understood. All right, but like those small things, when you're in such a terrible world, those small things matter. And I felt as we were going through that series from the Marlian arc, we started seeing fewer and fewer of those things. We started getting less and less hope. It started getting ridiculous. Okay, now the Titan fights were still very intense, very cool. Not everything was trash, but I'm looking at it and saying to myself, if you'd have ended this series with Eren and Armin and Mikasa on the other side of the world eating ice cream, nobody would have complained. Nobody would have complained. But there's no way that you can end this series now without having a bunch of people fucking mad because of everything you did since that part. Even if people were okay with the ride, you've deconstructed so much of the characters. And then the amount of plot armor that started happening in the series too started really kind of pissing me off. How yes, if you blow his fucking head off, he'll die. Except we did blow his head off and he's still alive. And hey, we're gonna, chop him up and he's not gonna be able to live, except the fact we chopped him up and he is still alive. No, don't spoil it. Don't end it. Don't end it. But when you said one more day, I pretty much figured what you were going to talk about here, and that is probably going to wish everything away. And if that happens, because I remember when I first started reading the series, I waited until the series was over before I started reading it. By the way, I sometimes do that. Sometimes I wait for the entire series to end, and then I'll go back and read it because I don't want to run the risk of one, the creator dying, like what happened with Berserk. Two, the series being canceled before it's actually finished, which sometimes happens too. And I know that kind of happens quite often with manga. So I'm very tentative about jumping on manga immediately. Usually I wait for it to become really, really popular and then I jump on it. Because if you jump on something and then 6 volumes in it gets canceled, you're just like an idiot because you've got unfinished stuff. So, but as I was waiting to start the reading, I remember he was supposed to do some kind of, I think, New York Comic Con or something like that. And he sent a message. And in the message, he didn't want people to yell at him for how he completed the series. And I figured, again, I didn't know what happened. And I was like, he must have really fucked that up. if he's worried about people like screaming at him at the con. So I was like, he must have botched this up something terrible. At this point, I had already had like several volumes. So I wasn't going to be like, well, not going to read it now. I just want to see how bad it was going to be. And, sometimes people are unhappy with the ending if it's not a happy ending. And that might be just a problem in and of itself. It's just not a happy ending. Sometimes the creator himself, because he is Japanese, he might have a problem with the ending and other people don't. But having read as much of the series as I had read, I said to myself, yeah, I see why he would be scared to come to come to the con. Because we literally went from I saw Attack on Titan literally everywhere for like 4 or 5 cons straight, like years of cons. Everybody loving Attack on Titan. And then it went to almost zero. Like, so something tells me that he did something within the last several chapters to fuck this up. And I didn't know how bad it was going to be. Right? I didn't know it was going to be as confusing as it ended up being. I didn't know that Aaron was going to end up being as terrible as he actually is. And there's no way for you can't do a redemption arc when the character is genocidal. And then the character has actively begun the genocide. You can't do it. You know, you can't do it. You can't do it. You can do a dark story. That's the thing that really kind of blows my mind. It's a dark enough story. But what made people love the series is the characters still had hope. They still had dreams. They still had wants. There were things beyond just killing Titans. And then you finally get us to that point, and then you decide, let's make it all worse. Okay, let's make it all bad. And now everybody's like, okay. And I immediately started saying to myself, he could have fixed this by certain things he never should have done. He never should have had Aaron attack the Marlians. That never should have happened. You know, if he'd have told everybody that the attack was gonna happen and for them to prepare for it, and he was going to use the attack Titan to try to stop it on this side or whatever, that'd have been one thing. Because he'd still been, hey, I'm trying to help, my people, and they're going to be attacked by all of these Titans and shit. But for him to go on the offensive and to attack innocents, I'm like, bro, what did you do that for? Then he's capturing his friends. He's threatening Mikasa and Armin. Then he's standing there and he tells Mikasa basically that she's a slave and he hates her. And I'm like, bro, what the fuck? Where did all this shit come from? Like, where did any of this come from? Like, all of this, and Armin is of course being a simp. Oh no, he's being influenced by blah 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 blah. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe that's how they're gonna put past the heat to Zeke and say that Zeke's trying to control him. And then he turned heel on Zeke. Like, your plan of euthanizing all the Eldians, that sucks. My plan of killing everybody is better. Like, wait, no, no. What the fuck? What the fuck? Why would you do that? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And then, come on, man. Come on, man. Nah, you can't. We can't let you get away with that one. That sucks. Then there's no hero. And that really what threw me for a loop, because I'm like, okay, so who's the hero now? And then we're like, okay, well, Levi, incredibly competent. He's cutting up the Beast Titan with no problem. He's the hero of the story now. But he's kind of like an asshole. But I guess if he's the only one who we got left, all right, I guess. Armin is no hero. Mikasa is no hero. Not really. So who do we got left? We got nobody left, really. So we were stuck with all of these people who are filled with self-hatred and hatred of others, which includes almost all of the Marlians, almost all of the Eldians, and there's no benefit to this story at all. Right? It's not like something positive is going to come out of this. Like, there's nothing positive coming out of this thing. But I'm not going to say it was all terrible. Again, I haven't read the ending, but I would imagine it's not up to par. Like I said, some of the good stuff was that the Titan fights were still very intense. They were very cool. I like the Titan fights specifically when I think his name is Galliard, the Jaw Titan, and Aaron fighting in Marley. I thought that was great. The Warhammer Titan had a very cool design. The power set is very overpowered. Very cool design. Um, I liked Sasha being killed off. I liked the way that she was killed off. I thought it was anticlimactic in a way, but it was very realistic. In so much as the young lady, Gabby, snuck onto the airship and Sasha wasn't paying attention and got shot. Like that was heartbreaking, but it was believable. It wasn't like, oh, that's some bullshit. You know, it didn't make me mad. It made me sad, which is exactly what you're supposed to feel when a character like Sasha is killed off, because she is beloved, and that's why you had to kill her. You know, you feel bad that she's gone, and then as they do the flashbacks, you remember why you loved her in the first place. You're like, oh yes, she's great. Like, her love of ice cream, her being a dummy. When they were talking about who's going to get the attack Titan after Aaron is gone, and and Sasha said, Connie, you're an idiot. You can't do it. And that was funny. Like it was very good. So having Sasha get killed off, but her still being a major part of the story was very good. Now it was clearly in some ways inspired by the Israeli concept, except for the self-hatred element, which I think some people are self-hating Jews, but not all of them. Okay, there was a lot of self-hatred in the LDN part of this story, and it was almost completely and totally stuff I just could not understand. I was very frustrated with the use of the father, Grisha, because he seemingly had not figured out what he wanted this guy to be. He didn't know if he wanted him to be a simple scientist who had stumbled upon the secret of the Titans, or he was a secret revolutionary who came from the other side of the world. And then it was, well, he was all of that. But at the same time, once he got within the walls, he had a regular family. He didn't really care about the restorationists anymore. He didn't really care about that crap anymore. He didn't want to kill the Reese family. He didn't want to do any of this stuff. So I'm like, so what the fuck who is this character, really? You know? Like, who is he? You know? like, like, who is he? I don't know, man. The amount of plot armor. Look, I'm going to be honest. Every main character is going to have plot armor. Everyone. Because 9 times out of 10, you're not going to try to kill the main character off. So almost every main character is going to have some version of plot armor. But when you had Zeke be just basically carved up to the point where he should have been dead, and he still alive, I'm just like, bro, okay, now what? I think they cut the Titan open, threw a bomb in there, and somehow he was still alive. I'm like, what the fuck? How is he still alive? Gabby blew Aaron's head off, and somehow he's still alive? You spent this entire series telling us that if you decapitate a Titan, or at least if you destroy the nape of the neck, that Titan is dead. All right? Aaron's head got blown completely off, and yet he's still alive. I don't get it. You have to make it make sense. Everybody's going to have plot armor. I get that. I get it. But it can't be to the extreme. It cannot be to the extreme. It can't be to the point where we've seen characters die from, much, 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 much less. And, this character literally is only still around because of plot. That sucks for me. But there are still some things in it that I like. I like that he didn't forget anything. I had completely forgotten that Annie was captured because it had gone so long since she had been captured. I had forgotten about her. So her being an important part of the later part of the series is good. Okay, I like that. I like that he didn't forget. But him explaining where Aaron's name came from, his name came from the owl, the guy who helped Barisha Yeager escape the the Marley or whatever. It explained the Titans. The Titans were basically criminals that were cut loose on this island, basically used as jailers on this penal colony that they call Paradise or Paradise, however they pronounce it. And I said, okay, so essentially the Titans are zombies. All right, they're mindless. They eat, but they get no sustenance out of no sustenance rather out of the eating. They're essentially slaves. They're easily controlled by other creatures, and I'm like, okay, but I'm not sure if this is science. I'm not sure if this is magic. And then it turns out that it's a little of both. It's a little science, a little magic. And I always had it in my mind because, again, one of the big questions I had in my head was how are they going to explain the Titans and what they are? And in my head, from the very beginning, I said, oh, the Titans are basically zombies. They're basically fucking giant zombies, you know? And I thought, and I truly thought this might have been the easiest way to fix the problem, is that once we found out that you can turn somebody into a Titan, that you would find a way that you can undo the Titanism. I thought that was the natural response was, okay, so they're going to create some kind of serum where if they inject it or the person eats it or whatever, they'll go back to normal. And that's how they're going to fix the problem or whatever. But that wasn't the case. They had to actually kill them. Like once you transform into a Titan, that's it. You know, you got to die at that point. Unless you're one of the 9 Titans, the Divine 9. Then you can, transform at will. So I'm looking at it, I'm just saying, like, okay, I thought it was how the technology went forward. I thought was very cool. The Thunder Spears. I thought that was a badass idea. I loved it. And how they had to adapt to fighting Titans very differently than the Marlians did. The Marlians always controlled the Titans. They didn't ever have to fight them. So, they were able to develop automobiles and cars and, regular human stuff while using the Titans to defend their society and as, prison guards or whatever. So they didn't have like vertical maneuvering gear. They had no real way of defeating the Titans if they were unleashed on their town. So I thought that was interesting. Of course, I hated the idea of unleashing Titans on the town, But once we started getting into the Jaegerists and people randomly swapping sides, I couldn't keep track of that. There's too many characters jumping from side to side, and I was just kind of like, I don't care. But I'm not going to say it was completely and totally devoid of hope, which is, I think, a very important element in stories that are devastating like this. You got to have elements of hope. I think that when Gabby and Falco and Kaya became friends, I thought that was a really good, hopeful spot, And I thought, okay, Falco and Gabby, what they think of the people on the island is going to change once they start living amongst them, similar to what happened with Rainer. Rainer lived amongst these people for a while. It changed his opinion of them. And he felt guilty about what he had to do to them. And that was a good character arc for him. But, for him to be covered in armor and still be so incredibly weak was ridiculous to me. I was like, oh, this guy's terrible. He's a terrible character. He's the shits. But they then had, they had Kaya. There was a great conversation in here. And I think it was between Kaya and Gabby, and they were talking about basically the collective guilt. And Kaya was talking about her mom being eaten. And Gabby was saying how, we deserve this because of what happened 2,000 years ago. And she said, well, my mom died 4 years ago. And then, blah, 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 blah. They was going back and forth. And basically, she was telling her, we don't have anything to do with what happened 2,000 years ago. That has no control over our lives. Like, we weren't there. We didn't do that. And it's like a child could figure it out. Like a kid could figure it out, but adults couldn't. And then we had the situation where Kaya tried to kill Gabby when she found out that Gabby had shot. I thought that was a great. What's the name? Niccolo, that guy who was the chef, who was kind of in love with Sasha. I thought all of that stuff was pretty good too. When they found out that Gabby was the girl who had shot Sasha, and it was gonna kill her. Because at this point the story is all about revenge, and it's about revenge from the beginning. Because Eren swore revenge on the Titans for eating his parents and all this kind of stuff. And so every character having that desire, that deep-seated desire for revenge, it makes sense. And then having to work through it, especially when Gabby started to feel remorse. The people were treating her very well. They weren't evil, and she had to admit that she'd done something terrible and, hurt people who actually liked her and cared about her. That matters, but that story kept popping up. Like, it kept popping up that, oh yeah, I did this kind of terrible thing to you guys. Sorry. Sorry I held down Marco and made him get eaten by a Titan. Sorry. It was kind of like, damn. You can't finish the story without them knowing that, I guess. But sheesh. Every time somebody tries to bring everybody together, here comes somebody who did something horrible in the past, basically admitting that they did something horrible and then pissing everybody else off. I don't know, man. I don't see how you fix this story. I really don't. I just look at this thing and I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I want. I'm glad. I'm actually kind of glad I don't have the last omnibus, because I get some time to. I get a break from it. Like, I get to take some time to decompress. Like, I literally just finished Omnibus 11 before I started this, which is why I started so early. And I was like, woof, woof. He really kind of screwed this one up. But I did like some of the stuff from the Marley arc. It's just that I didn't like the nihilism. I didn't like how nothing seems to matter, and there's no way that you can fix this problem without murdering hundreds of millions of people, or making them unable to reproduce. That's just, if you can magic your way out of these things, then why do you magic your way into slaughtering everybody? When obviously there must have been some other option, I don't know, man. And then I don't like really none of the characters anymore. I was also very confused about the amount of time skipping they did. Like, they skipped several years into the future, and then they would kept going back and forth. And then they would go 2,000 years in the past. And because some of the characters have similar facial expressions and whatever, I was getting confused. Like when I first was reading the Emir story, I thought it was Historia. And I'm just kind of like, why is Historia, a slave? I'm now thinking about, oh, okay, so I had to go back and look and see that they, they started telling her story. And I was like, well, this is very oddly placed. I'm guessing this is going to matter in the future, and of course it did. But I was like, this is ridiculous, bro. I don't know what's going on anymore. Like, it was clear that the Titans were the bad guys, but now it went from the people who could turn into Titans are the bad guys, even if they don't turn into Titans. And then it's like you could control whether they turn into Titans or not, and you choose to turn them into Titans, uh, oh, okay. So, like I don't know, man. You would think that all the research they did in 2,000 years, they would be able to find a way to neutralize the Titan gene or whatever. I mean, think about it. It's what they did in like X-Men, you know? Like in X-Men, that was one of the first things they came up with is you were born with a genetic defect. Here's a way that we can prevent that genetic defect from happening, you know? So they created this thing that, takes away the mutant's powers. And some of them willingly took it, other ones didn't. I forget what that storyline is called, by the way. But people who were ugly and horrible, they found a way to, hey, I can get this back. I can get back my normal self. And it was a question of, are you okay as you are, or do you think you need to be changed? And I thought that would have been a good way to get out of this story is there's no Titans on the other side of the world because they found a way to cure it, or whatever. And but like no, they're Jews over there. Apparently, it's ridiculous. WG Phil says I do like the idea of the Titan being due to the hallucinogens and made it a biblical mythological story of how the Titans are created. Yes, you could do that. It could be like a mythology. The thing is, they went about telling the mythology, utilizing the mythology, getting you to believe the mythology, and then deconstructing the mythology. So it's like you thought this was true. It's not. It's like you thought this character was a good guy. He's not. You thought this you can do heel turns. I think that when Rayner and Bertholdt and all of them were revealed as being villains, that was great. That was fine. But you can't turn everybody. Like you can't turn everybody. And then the people that they didn't turn into villains, they basically neutered them. Because then you had Mikasa and Armin and a couple of other people who, well, they're not actively going out murdering innocent people, but they're not exactly sure how to stop it either, and so they're paralyzed by analysis. They have two options to either kill Eren or not, and then that became a big thing in the omnibus. I think like maybe chapter 130 or whatever, where Annie was basically kept asking Mikasa, "Can you kill Eren? Or are you going to kill Eren?" And she couldn't say yes. So you're in this situation where you're going to have this race against time, where we're going to chase him down, but you haven't made a decision on what you're actually going to do about it yet. So what are we chasing them for? Like we're chasing them to stop this, but stopping this might mean killing him, but you're not willing to do that. And so it's like I don't get it. So we were in a very weird space where Eren was walking around bullying his friends, taking people captive. He had General Pix had the shit kicked out of him, or was it Shaddis? It was one of the two. He had him beat up almost to death, and then caged. And then we had that Yelena character. I didn't even understand her, and they kept her around for so long. She's technically, I don't know. She probably gets killed off later, but she's technically still around in my reading of it because I haven't completed the story yet, and they haven't decided to kill her yet. I do like that. It was very interesting. Another funny thing that Sasha did is when she asked the black guy, "Why is his skin so dark?" I thought that was very good. So then we also found out that Mikasa's family comes from the other side of the world. So that was a good little thing too. But I thought that the story really peaked with them killing all the Titans and Levi defeating the Beast Titan and them finally killing all of the Titans on the island and getting to the ocean. I thought that was a great, great, great story. Like I thought right there, I was like, wow. If they would just had Zeke explain what his plan was, maybe he was the guy creating Titans or whatever, and then they cut his head off, killed him, and then they finally get to enjoy the ocean. They get to enjoy the world without all the Titans. That'd have been great. That'd have been fucking excellent. And then they went, you know, I don't know why they did that. I'm telling you, man, like I truly enjoyed some of the hopeful elements of the series. That's why I can remember them so well. Like most of the time, I don't remember little things. I remember like the major plot points. But when everybody's being murdered in every other page, or there's tons and tons of dialogue that seemingly is going nowhere. Different characters flip flopping, going from one side to the other. You pointing a gun at somebody one minute, and you're standing next to him the next. When I see something like Sasha asking a guy why his skin's so dark, it stands out because it's funny and it blows away a lot of the tension and a lot of the horseshit that's going on in these other pages. Like when her and Connie were calling each other idiots, that was fun. You know, it was just so much that I wish that he would have just either introduced earlier and just finished the series with them finally having their hope finally being achieved, and we didn't need that whole Marley arc. Even some of the stuff that came out of it that I thought were good, like the Titan fights and stuff, I still don't think we needed it. You know, I don't think Aaron needed to have a brother. I really don't. You know, I don't think Aaron needs to have a brother. I don't think that this whole thing being a blood curse, you know, is good. I just I don't I know it's typical Japan though. Japan is all about their hierarchies and a blood curse or something like that is perfect for them because it sets up the extreme of the hierarchy which they experience in their society. And there's some people who are higher levels than others. And that often comes out in manga. It's a intractable part of Japanese society, even if it's just characters in high school, where some of them are upperclassmen, other ones are lowerclassmen, and you know they act wildly different. Like somebody's 2 years older than you, they act like they're 25 years older than you are. So it's a it's an interesting thing, and I don't want to say I hate the series because I don't. I just think that some of the narrative decisions that were made in the later part of the series shows that the writer probably lost control of the story at some point, and he wasn't sure where he wanted to go. It doesn't feel like he plotted this out very well because we constantly went from they're going to work together to they're fighting, and they're going to work together, then they're fighting, and then they're going to split into the Zeke faction and the Aaron faction, and then the Zeke faction and the Aaron faction are going to work together. And then we found out that Aaron was going to snake on Zeke, so then this the Aaron faction was going to do this, and I'm just kind of like, oh god. And now all of the characters that we've been following through the first, dozens and dozens of chapters, they're lost in the sauce. So many of them become really unimportant later, and then they start doing things that are like weirdly out of character. Like Connie is trying to feed this boy to his mom, and I get it in terms of the emotional element. You could turn your mom back into a normal person, and this kid's the enemy, so why would you care about him? But I'm like, why do we have to do that? Like Connie was a perfectly serviceable side character. We didn't have to turn him into an asshole who's going to kill a child and feed the child to his mom. Like, that's psychotic, bro. Like, why we do that to Connie? What the fuck? I don't know, man. I was just kind of like, I didn't understand that. And it seemed like it was done not to really further the story because it didn't really have a purpose in the story. If you could have had the story completely fine without Connie trying to feed Falco to his mom. You didn't need to have that. And I think that was another problem. A lot of it felt like filler, especially all the memories and a lot of the flashbacks. It all felt because it kept just reinforcing that the Eldians and the Marlians hate each other, or the story that they're being told or whatever. and it just a lot of it felt like filler, especially the memories and the time skipping and stuff. So it was very weird. So it was it was okay. I just think I'm thinking about mostly the story should have ended because it's such a dark tale. It probably should have ended. Um, it probably should have ended on a better. It's going to end on a better note. And I think even if you try to magic your way or hand wave your way out of this thing, and once you introduce a genie that can fix the problem or whatever, you can pretty much guess that the genie's going to fix the problem. You know, and I hate that element of it too. Like once I saw that Emir was going to be basically a wishing well, and I was like, oh brother, so that's going to fix the problem. Is they're going to have not somebody's ingenuity, not arming strategy, which is why he's still alive, is because they needed his strategic abilities and they needed his hope. And besides the fact that he was friends with Mikasa and Aaron and all of them, that is why he was kept alive, because he was like a forward thinker, a strategist. And then he was neutered for like most of the series at this point because he doesn't know what the fuck is going on. And he can't know. So he's basically just standing around sweating and he's being reactionary like everybody else. So it's like, what the fuck is the point? I don't get it. WG Phil says, I do wish we could get an explanation on each Titan was made. Like if Ymir was a fleshed colossal Titan, how did she make the beast chart and Warhammer variants? Yeah. And that's why I was like, I heard that they were doing research. And I said, okay, so maybe the researchers created the variants, and that would have been at least some, like if you're going to take time to explain every fucking thing, which is what I'm also not a big fan of that, and I do that a lot when I write stories too, is I over explain. If you're going to take the time to explain every variation of the Titans, like then explain the extreme variants. Like those extreme variants matter. Like, how is it that some people can be conscious and be Titans and other people are essentially, well, they're conscious, but they have no control. And that's one of the things that we learned from Ymir, who was in love with Historia, that when she was a Titan for 80 some odd years. And she had consciousness. So she was basically still awake in there, but there was nothing she could do. And so that was a very interesting storyline element that you introduced here. That the Titans are still alive. Like the people who are within the nape of the neck are still alive. They just are basically passengers in this weird old body, which gives you another thing to say, maybe we should stop killing them. Maybe we should cure them, or maybe we should, trap them, or whatever the case may be, until a cure can be found. Like all of that stuff seemed to make sense to me, but we never got around to that. We say could have ended when Aaron punched his stepmom during the arc, when Rainer got exposed, or when Armin became a colossal Titan. See, here's the thing, like I get why he didn't end it there. Like I get why he didn't end it in certain parts. And I get because he didn't fully explain where the Titans had come from. He wanted to show the world outside the walls. There was a lot of more story he wanted to do, but I still feel like the natural ending of the series was when they won the big victory and protected the wall and fought off the Cart Titan, the Beast Titan, and Rainer. When they fought them off and defeated them, I thought, okay, this is a natural end right here. Because you had all of these freaky Titans right here. I don't think it's going to get worse than this. And I always said that earlier in the series, the weakest parts were all of the palace intrigue. Who's the real royal family? And, the revolution to overthrow the real royal family. I was like, I wish we hadn't done all that, but okay. So a lot of the political elements of it, a lot of the palace intrigue, I was not a huge fan of. I just thought the characters involved were very boring, and it involves a lot of sitting around talking. And we should have like bigger problems than who the real king is and all this kind of stuff. But they wanted to expose where the Titans had come from and all this kind of stuff. But I was just kind of like, man, 130 chapters in, I don't see how you can fix it. I don't see how you can fix it. I don't see what you can do. You know, the only way to fix it seems like, is just going to try to hand wave it. You know, you're going to try to wish it away. Or even if you kill Aaron, you still killed all the people. And they kept saying in the early part that they affected people's memories. So maybe Aaron destroys the world and then wipes everybody's memories away so they don't remember him destroying the world. And then, Historia is pregnant and they allude to Aaron being the father of the baby, but not really. They say she shacked up with some stable boy or something like that. And then the plan was to turn her into a Titan. And then they think that she got pregnant to avoid that. And it's like all this crazy stuff. I'm just kind of like, I don't know, man. Whatever. Yeah, so Emir, the one who lived behind the wall, um, I think she was a useful part of the story. I really do. You know, when she used her powers to protect everybody, I thought that was great. And then she basically just surrendered and allowed herself to be eaten. And I was just like, huh, okay. And she wrote this letter to Historia, which I thought was very sweet, you know. And I thought that was very nice. I didn't even say like, oh, it's SJW, was she being gay? I kind of figured she was gay. How she was like completely all over Historia. I figured she loved her. But to just basically surrender herself to say like, I don't want this power anyway. Fuck it, they can have it. It's like, you don't have anything to live for, nothing. But she wasn't supposed to have it anyway. So that was her thought process is, it's not, I'm not supposed to have it anyway, and they're gonna keep chasing me for it. So whatever. But I'm like, kind of liked Emir, but she just gave herself up and let herself get eaten. Very weird, you know. But I was just, I like the series. I still do, because I think the beginning of it was so amazing, because it was traumatic and you watched every trauma happen and you watched them learn the secrets of the Titans and all this kind of stuff as it was going on. And I remember really like you guys, of course, couldn't have been there, but I got a huge pop when I saw a photograph. And it's, they explain like Grisha Yeager is like, this is a photograph. And everybody's looking at it like, what the fuck? How? Like, what's that? you know? I was like, huge pop, because now we know that there's more out there. There's more going on. He really did come from beyond the wall, because they don't have cameras, you know, in their society. So like, what the hell is this thing? Like, so I thought that was very cool. But then I didn't know it was going to turn into this. I didn't know it was going to turn into half brother, like being an informant. But then he only did it to save them. because they were being stupid and the police was on their tail. I'm like, oh my god! And then there's 100 stepdads in the series where my real father was nowhere around, and this random guy I know played ball with me or taught me how to fight or whatever. I was raised by my granddad. I'm like, okay. I just think a lot of the characters were very sweet. They were charming, and then they became sort of generic as the story went forward. You know, and I think that we lost something when we made the series the way that it would be in the later part. In the Marley arc, we lost a lot. You know, and what you lost, you can't really get it back. You can't replace it. So, a lot of the hope was taken out, a lot of the humor was taken out, and it was added through. Clearly, is added more through flashbacks and stuff like that. But it became very nihilistic and it became unyieldingly dark. And for me, I like dark fantasy. I don't mind horror or whatever, but there has to be some hope there. And it has to be something that I want to see the characters achieve. And um it's not just revenge. That's why I fixate on, when Armin said he wanted to see the ocean. You know, like it's something that's so simple, but to them it's something they've only ever heard of. It's not anything that they actually have ever experienced. So it symbolizes something to them. It symbolizes that the world is not as awful as they truly believed it was. It was aspirational. And we went from something aspirational to basically no hope. It got to a point where there's, outside of revenge or wishing things away, there's no hope in the series. There's just no way to end the series satisfactorily for me. And that's me not knowing how the series ends. I just don't see it ending in any way. Now, by next week, when we do the video, I'll be able to talk more about it because the volume is coming in on Thursday. I typically read Attack on Titan on the weekends. That's just how because I have more time on the weekends to read. I read my other things during the week. Like I'm gonna read. I wouldn't have found. I don't know if I told y'all this. Did I tell y'all about Promethea, the Alan Moore comic book? I bought 4 volumes of it. I read 3 of them already. It's Alan Moore, and I think it's actually pretty good. I haven't finished that either. I don't care as much about Promethea because it's very Alan Moore, high-minded, seemingly overwritten, but it's very cool. It's a very different superhero concept. It's very cool. But I also have Road to Perdition. I don't know if you guys saw this movie. It stars Tom Hanks as a gangster. But I found the graphic novel that it was based on. And I've been looking for this graphic novel for so fucking long. And I finally got it. I paid $7 for it. I finally got it. I'm probably going to read that at some point this week. Because I told you I don't watch TV. I read. I'm still reading Stan Hansen's book. So I'm reading graphic novels and a lot of manga. I bought the Lupin the Third Thickest Thieves, but I didn't have the first hardcover, which was Greatest Heists. So I have that now. I have Grendel, Devil by the Deed, the hardcover. I have the original floppy of Grendel, Devil by the Deed. If you guys have never read Matt Wagner's Devil by the Deed or Grendel, it is very fucking good. A lot of Grendel is one of those characters. It was supposed to be a TV show or a movie or something like that recently, but it got canceled. But Grendel is amazing because Grendel is not a superhero. Grendel is a villain, but it's more of a mind state. So it's not like a power set. It's not like a like each Grendel series is a different Grendel, starting from Hunter Rose, who is a crime boss, and then it goes to, I believe, his daughter-in-law or stepdaughter or something like that, who ends up using the, I guess, mindset of the Grendel to fight villains and shit. But and then of course it becomes a robot, and I don't go that deep into the Grendel stuff. I don't care that much. The Hunter Rose element is very good, however. And the original story is called Devil by the Deed, where a young man by the name of Hunter Rose is seduced by an older woman who teaches him how to fight and all this kind of stuff. She takes him away, and then she ends up dying, and he becomes a writer, and then turns to a life of crime. And he wears a mask and he carries a pitchfork, and he goes by the Grendel. And it's basically based off of Beowulf, the old Norse mythology, Norse poem of Beowulf, because one of the detectives who tries to catch him as a werewolf. It's a very interesting story, but I love Grendel. I still haven't read Ronin from Frank Miller. I got 3 of the Sin City volumes coming in. The Hard Goodbye, which I've already read, but I don't have a copy of it. I read it online. I don't have a physical copy of it, so that'll be coming. The Big Fat Kill. There was another one. No, I have the Big Fat Kill already. I'm sorry. What's the other one? A Dame to Kill For. That one's going to be coming in. And what's the third one? Ooh, I ordered 3 of them. The Yellow Bastard. That one's coming in too. So that's going to be coming in next, probably not this week, but next week. So you may do a Sin City dive. I really love Sin City. And Sin City is sort of the blueprint for Ed Brubaker's Criminal series. I don't know if you guys ever read Criminal. I haven't read all of them. I have a lot of the Criminal books. I don't have all of them. I have quite a few. I love Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. Also have 2 of their Reckless books. They have like 4 of those. I have only got 2 of them. So I have a lot to read. I also found Ken Shamrock's first book. He did a book called Inside the Lion's Den. I've already read the Jonathan Snowden book, which is actually more recent, which is on his entire life. But Inside the Lion's Den is basically, I think it seemed to be more like about MMA. And let's see what year this thing was written in, because it was before Jonathan Snowden, 1997. So this was before he took all of those L's to like Kimbo Slice and everything. This was when he's at the top of his game. So, but he actually, Jonathan Snowden actually, he utilized some of the information from Inside the Lion's Den for his book. But I'm pretty sure there's not going to be much. There's going to be some overlap because it's the same subject, but not too much. But I'm probably going to read Lupin next. I got to finish Promethea book 4. I haven't even started it yet, but it is very deep. I'm talking very deep. And you could tell that Alan Moore studies a lot of this, mythology kind of stuff. And it's very weird because I wrote a story called Ursula's Legacy. I think I may have posted the first page of it on my community tab maybe months ago. And where I study Haitian voodoo. And I wrote a story based off that. And then I didn't know this thing existed. But apparently he did something similar with all sorts of different magical phenomena like the Kabbalah and tarot cards and what it's right on the tip of my tongue. It's like it's the Indian thing, the chakras and all this kind of stuff. It's very deep when it comes to mythology. So you basically learn that Alan Moore's an old wizard. So which we already knew, but you get a taste of all the kind of stuff that he studied reading Promethea, and it really, really inspired me to get back to writing. and to get back to studying individual things and utilizing them in stories. But like, it was very fun when I was studying what's the name, voodoo, for the story, and I think the story turned out great. I do question the end, but it's a I think it turned out great. I probably should reread it. Maybe I will. I'll reread it on my own time and see where it turns out. Uh, I think that's it in terms of. Oh yeah, I got to start reading Parasite. I forgot about that. So my plan was to finish Attack on Titan and collect as many Parasite books as I could. I've been getting the hardcovers that they've been reproducing. I got 4 of them, and I haven't touched them. So once I finish Attack on Titan, I'm gonna start reading Parasite because that's been sitting there waiting for me. I got it's 4 of them. I thought it was 5. It's 4. So that's about it. I spent a lot of time talking about Attack on Titan. Still didn't finish the series, but I got a lot of opinions. A wrestling question: how would you book CM Punk's road to WrestleMania? Well, you got 2 options. Well, 3. Clearly, the idea is going to be Rollins and Punk at WrestleMania. Assuming Rollins is still the champion, he's got to win the Royal Rumble, or he's got to win the Elimination Chamber. Um, since he is on Raw, he doesn't have to win the Royal Rumble. He can win the Elimination Chamber, and you just go from there. So that's probably what I would do, and I would imagine Punk versus Rollins is the main event of night 1. At least I would imagine so. Um, all this talk about The Rock and all that, I don't see that. I mean, I don't believe at all The Rock's coming in. So I think we're looking at Rollins and Punk night 1, Cody and Reigns 2 night 2, and that's the main events of WrestleMania. And then maybe Punk wins the belt. But that would be like the best way to do things, I guess. What? Why wouldn't you do that? Would be the question. The only way you wouldn't do that would be if you want to give the belt to either Drew McIntyre or Damian Priest. Which, why would you? You don't have to give the belt to Drew McIntyre, even though that's why he's turning heel. Even though it would validate his heel turn if he won it. But I don't see them doing that. I think they're going to keep the belt on Rollins until WrestleMania, and he's going to lose it to Punk. So that's fine. But that's what I would do. I probably wouldn't have him win the Rumble. But the 2 top options to win the Rumble is him and Cody. And Cody's already won it. So, but I think that teasing CM Punk and Roman Reigns is a huge match. So that would be interesting. Interestingly enough, never read Dragon Ball. I know Dragon Ball so well, I never read the manga. It almost always happens with me, when it comes to, if I watch the manga, if I watch the anime rather, I very rarely have interest to read the manga. It's very rare that I do both. Like Hell's Paradise, I've read the manga and watched the anime. Even though I don't think I finished the anime, I watched it. Chainsaw Man, both. Spy Family, both. But Naruto, Dragon Ball, never read them. I don't know. I keep saying that I'm going to read it, but I never get around to it. I haven't finished Ghost in the Shell either. I still have it. And this Ghost in the Shell hardcover I've got, it's a deluxe edition. This damn thing is so different from the movie. It's unbelievable. Ghost in the Shell manga is so different from the movie. It's unbelievable that it's based off the same product. It's unbelievable it's based off the same product. But the manga is very good. It's good, but I think the movie is probably better because it's more streamlined and more focused. But basically, Kusanagi is dealing with various cyber related crimes, and a lot of it is based off of people's brains being hacked or the hacking of cyborg brains and this kind of stuff. But it's a very good series, very much into the technology, far more than Battle Angel Alita was. But I was wondering if there's a second part to this because I don't know. I don't know it to be true. And because when I bought it at Umicon, and the first thing I did was I flipped to the last page to see if the last page of the book is similar to the last page to the last site of the movie, and it is. So maybe this is the entire thing, because every time I saw Ghost in the Shell at a comic book shop, it would be this hardcover or a hardcover like this, but it would be like part one or whatever. And I figure if this is one volume and it's the whole thing, then it'll be fine. But it seems like there is this is what the movie is based off of. And if there's another part to it, it doesn't play a part into the movie. So that book is heavy. But I still want to read like Devilman and Akira. And I'm getting around to Dragon Ball eventually. But I never read Dragon Ball. And maybe I will start reading Dragon Ball next year. Also want to read Black Lagoon. I've had Black Lagoon in my I don't want to say wish list. What is it called? Whatever, Amazon list for forever. Because I wanted to read it after I read No Guns Life, but then I started reading other things. So I like stocking up on things and then giving special time to it. Most manga, if I get it, I'll read it immediately. Like if a Spy Family or something like that, I really don't wait too long and just go ahead and read it and put it on the shelf. But there's other things that are like older, where I want to get as many of them as I can before I start reading them. Especially if they have a history for being like really good. That was my thing with Attack on Titan, is like I don't want to get to something and be like I am right now, where it's kind of like I really want to know what happens next, but now I have to wait and wait and wait. When the whole point of it was I was getting the series so that I can have it mostly complete. So by the time I read all of it, I won't have to wait, But then in my infinite dumbness, I didn't know how long the series was. So I thought I was buying the series as it was coming out when it comes to the Attack on Titan omnibus. I thought the omnibus was new. And I was going out buying them. I thought I was buying them as they came out. But I was basically buying them as they were restocking them. And so they didn't have them all. So I had to order some of them from Amazon. See, WG Phil says Masako says she wants to voice Goku till she's 182 and has no plans on retiring. Love seeing older actors appreciating their roles than American actors who feel shame in their roles. Yeah, I don't think she's going to make it that long. I'm glad she enjoys it because there's a lot of a positivity about her. Like, I'm not a big fan of the Japanese Goku voice. I don't like it. I don't like the idea of like grown men being voiced by women. Goku's like 40 something and he has like a weird voice for a 40-year-old man. But I'm in the minority because most of the fan base likes her. There's so much stuff to do. So little time. I'm going to I was watching NXT Deadline before I started this. Last year's Deadline. It reminded me a lot of why I prefer NXT 2.0 because, sorry, I was having heartburn, so I started eating. I forgot I was absent-minded and put some Tums in my mouth. As I was saying, I love NXT 2.0, and that was right at the tail end of it. Who they were pushing then, completely different from who they're pushing now, and the show looks different too. But Booker T is funny all the same. But let me go ahead and finish this stuff. I just had to blow my gasket about Attack on Titan a little bit. We're gonna finish this next week once the story is complete. And well, I'll probably either be very mad at Asayama or saying that he's a coward. You know, he's a coward if he does anything that hand waves it away. If he tries to make it all go away through wishing or whatever, that's cowardice. If he goes through and just kills Eren and whatever, I'll be mad at him. But you wrote yourself into this corner. But we'll deal with that then. Yeah, I do miss I missed NXT 2.0 for sure. It was such a fun product, for Christ's sake. It wasn't dry at all. Like, the acting still wasn't very good, but the acting is never going to be good. These are wrestlers, But there was so much attention to character back then. There was so much focus on character. It was still kind of weird, like the people that they put, like the people they put over, like the big Roxanne Perez push. Like, yikes, bro. But she brought out the best in Booker T. That was for sure. But I loved NXT 2.0, man. It was so fun. So I'm gonna go back to watching that, I guess. Either that or I'm gonna switch it to something else. I don't know. I was watching the Sylvester Stallone Netflix documentary too. I didn't finish it, but it was very interesting. I thought it was very good. But I didn't finish it. I had to make dinner. I made a big bowl of chili. Which is why I was sitting here crushing antacids because the onions and everything are starting to work their way back up. So I need to probably eat like 10 more before I have like an attack the moment I lay down tonight. All right, y'all. Thank y'all for stopping by. We're gonna finish Attack on Titan next week when the volume comes in from Amazon, and I'll sit down and read it. It's only 8 more chapters, so I should be done by Saturday. Well, no. Because next Saturday is NXT Deadline. I'll probably start reading it Friday. I'll probably get it on Thursday. Probably start reading it on Friday. By Deadline, I should be done with it. It's only 8 chapters. So I should be done with it. You just now watching Terminator 1 and 2? Wow. You know what? I'm not even going to bust your balls on that because I still haven't seen Star Wars. I haven't watched Star Wars. I haven't watched any Star Wars. I don't watch Star Wars, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. I haven't watched any of that stuff. So I keep my nerd card to the minimum. Like, we can sit down and talk about like Battle Angel Alita or something like that, but I don't want to talk about Star Wars. I gotta come across like a man who's actually had sex before, But Terminator is very good. So you catching up by watching it because the first 2 are very good. The hate for the franchise starts with 3, and it kind of goes beyond that. But I've never seen Dark Genesis or whatever the fuck, Dark Fate. I saw Genesis. I never seen Dark Fate. which is the one that's universally hated. But I thought 3 was okay. I thought Salvation was okay. Now, okay doesn't mean that they were great. It just means that they didn't turn me off too badly. But Genesis did. Genesis, nah, that fucked me up. It made me not want to watch Terminator anymore. It was down bad, bruh. But yeah, Terminator 1 and 2 is very good. Watch 3 and see if you want to finish it beyond 3. But it was like RoboCop. RoboCop 1 is fantastic. RoboCop 2, mm, mm. I wouldn't suggest it. It's not great. It's not as that's because RoboCop 1 was rated R, and then it became popular, and then they decided to neuter it. And it became like a PG product because it became, oh, RoboCop is for kids now. And so now, a lot of the blood and the guts and stuff that was really popular in the first movie, it goes away because they want to be able to, market toys and video games. Which, I was a kid when that stuff happened. Still was a huge RoboCop fan, even though, because my parents didn't give a shit. You know, Cena's gonna be the next Terminator. Oh, is James Gunn doing it? Because he seems to be attached to the hip with that fucking guy. Is he gonna be the Terminator? I'm interested. He's basically a cyborg as it is. With his, I don't know. He got new arms now. Yeah, arm surgery. So maybe when he comes back, he can he can blame both his busted up arms for losing the Solo Sokoa. But I heard that Peacemaker is a pretty popular character now. Action figures, video games, everything jumping, comic books starting to sell. Cena's doing good. Everything that The Rock wanted to do with Black Adam, Cena did it with Peacemaker. I know that's got to piss him off. I mean, he's probably, I kidnapped Black Adam for damn near 10 years in order to get this popularity, and it didn't work. Fucking John Cena came out of nowhere and made Peacemaker one of the most popular DC characters at the moment. Damn him. Yeah, sorry, Dwayne. Sorry, Dwayne. But then again, they basically turned Peacemaker into a little bit of like a Deadpool in order to get it to work. But the TV show was pretty good, and I haven't read like the most recent comic book series, but Cena did a good job. I mean, can't hate it. Can't hate on that. When God do a good job, you just gotta accept it. All right. Thank you guys for your time. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.